Hi, everybody. I am so excited to introduce Darlene Pope to you today. So I've had the fortunate experience of working with Darlene over the last few months and her team. And when you talk about trust and being trusting and trustworthiness, Darlene has built the most amazing team ever at Planon. They are the most trustworthy team I have ever worked with. And therefore, I really want to learn from Darlene. Why? How? What do you think about trust when I say that word? So, Darlene, spend a few minutes, and briefly introduce yourself, and then dive in and tell us about what trust means to you and how you develop teams to be as trustworthy as your team at Planon.
Sure. So thank you, first of all, Susan and Christina, for having me today. My name's Darlene Pope. I'm the president of North America for Planon. I've been with the company for almost 2 years now. And I will say, first of all, thank you. I do think we have built an amazing team here at Planon. And when you talk about trust, I think the number one quality in a solid team is trust. Whether it's a sports team, whether it's a professional team, whether it's any other type of group or team, you have to have trust within that team to know that everybody's going to do what they need to do when they need to do it. And I think that we've built a very strong culture of trust within Planon. And what that means to me is that you trust the people to do what they need to do when they need to do it. You trust that everyone is going to be at their word. And I'll tell you one other thing is that trust is a two-way street. You cannot build trust within an organization unless you give trust first. So you do need to trust your team members to do what they need to do when they need to do it. And I think that helps create the trust back. So I do think we formed a very strong culture of trust within the organization.
So how did you do that? I mean, you've been at Planon, I don't remember, a year or two, or how long have you been at
Almost
Planon?
2 years now, yeah.
Okay, so 2 years ago, you walk into an organization. How do you build trust in an organization? What steps did you take?
First of all, I think trust is something you earn. And I do think it takes time, especially if you're the new kid on the block. So coming into an organization in a leadership position, you do have to walk the walk, walk the talk. And you have to make sure that your team trusts you first. And that's absolutely critical. And I think within Planon North America, when I say we've got a very strong culture of trust, we have a motto within the group that I've got your back. And I think as a leader, you have to create an environment where your team knows that when push comes to shove, you're going to get in the trenches with them. And you're not just going to rely on certain people to do a certain job. And one of the things that I've always said is I don't want to hear anybody say that's not my job, right? When the chips come down and we're really, really busy and we've got crunch time for RFPs and we've got demos that we need to do, and everybody's really, really busy, I want people to take off one hat and put on another hat and say, I've got your back. Don't worry about it. I got your back. I'll do this demo. I'll respond to this RFP. I'll meet with this customer. So I think that has really helped not only create that trust for me, but also with all the team members. Because again, when I say team, you have to rely on every person within the organization to play the right part on the team. There is no I in team. And so everybody's got to come to the game, if you will, with the same mindset, with the same trust, with the same honesty, to be able to win.
And I've seen you jump in and I've seen you do the work of whatever needs to be done. So, I think that you're a great model of walking your talk. Has it ever not worked? Like when you think about your career, your teams, even if it wasn't a Planon, like tell a story of when it didn't work and what you did about it.
Oh, sure. Everybody makes mistakes, right? I make mistakes. Team members make mistakes. And I think the benefit of having a team is that when somebody falls down or when somebody makes a mistake, somebody else can pick them up. And it's okay. It's okay to make those mistakes. It's okay to learn from those mistakes. and to really create a center of excellence, if you will, where you learn from one mistake and you learn not to make that mistake again. And it makes you better. It makes the team better. And I'll tell you, since I joined Planon, we have had, I wouldn't say significant turnover, but we have had turnover in the organization. And every time we lose a team member, we hire a stronger team member or a better team member. And so those that have either chosen to leave the organization or have left due to performance issues, when a team member leaves, even in sports, I watched Bryce Harper hit a home run last night. I was upset when he left the Nationals, right? Because it weakened the team here, but I was excited for him because he went to another organization and he thrived at another organization. I hit the winning home run last night, and I was happy for Bryce Harper, right? So when a team member leaves an organization because either it's not working for them or it's not working for us, that's okay. And you hire another team member and you build that trust with the next team member. But I'll tell you, even besides within our organization, and when I say within the organization, that includes all of our team members, it includes contractors, it includes partners, it includes, maybe technology partners. So we have a very large ecosystem of team members. And so it's not just within the organization, but it's also that extended organization that helps us build the company in that trustworthy manner.
Have you ever been able to talk a little bit about a return on investment or ROI when you build a trustworthy organization?
Well, I think that, again, you have to make sure. I had a high school teacher that always used to say what you mean and mean what you say. And I think developing that level of trust with customers is critical to ROI. I remember an instance several years ago where we had to meet a very tight deadline with a customer, and we kicked off a huge contract. We kicked off a huge project without a contract. Huge project without a contract. Probably shouldn't have done it, but there was a level of trust between our team and the client's team that we have to meet this deadline. We're not going to wait for the paperwork, and we're going to trust each other to move forward. Now, if we hadn't have done that, we never would have gotten the project. And it was a hugely successful project. But we kicked it off without the T's and C's we really needed. And we couldn't have done that without trust. And one thing I'll say is that people work with people, right? You can say that a company has trust or that they're a trustworthy company, but at the end of the day, that means that the people in the company are trustworthy. And I think over the course of my career, I've been able to form that trustworthiness that customers, whether it was 30 years ago when I was selling internet access or 20 years ago when it was smart buildings and in-building, whatever the case may be, I think I have been very fortunate over the course of my career to develop trust with customers so that way they keep coming back and they keep coming back and they keep coming back because they trust that I'm not going to sell them something that either they don't need or that doesn't work or that doesn't add value to the organization. So in terms of ROI, there's a huge ROI around trustworthiness between people and between people doing business together. Because as I said, people do business with people. And if you can't trust the people that you're doing business with, you're going to be out of business.
So there's a personal and a professional.
Absolutely. The people are behind the business. The business can say what their beliefs are, but at the end of the day, it's the people in that organization that have those beliefs that form that trust. The company is only made up of the people within it. And so my entire senior leadership team, we have to build trust with our customers. The customers have to trust that we're going to deliver what we said we were going to deliver, that the product is going to work the way that we said that it's going to work. And if for some reason it doesn't, they need to trust that we're going to fix it. So I do think that trust is absolutely critical in building a company. It's critical in selling and delivering a product. And it's absolutely critical in the success of that company long-term.
And it's critical in building your own personal brand, right?
Absolutely.
Because as you just said, people have been doing business with you personally throughout the years because they trust you. And that has helped you professionally build your brand.
Absolutely. And, I'll tell you, when before I joined Planon, I interviewed with 26 different companies in 4 months. And I realized that, this was a big move for me because, the closer I get to retirement, the more you have to look at, what do I want to do? Who do I want to do it with? And to your point, it was very important to me, where I placed my name. Right. And so whatever company I chose to go to next, I realized that I have a credibility and a brand that I need to make sure I can continue that through the next, 10, 12 years, before hopefully my retirement. So I do think that was a really critical decision in terms of making sure that I could put my name and my brand on the product and that I could build my team at the organization. And, I have some team members that I've worked with for 15, 20 years. One of whom I just hired, I've known him for 25 years. So, being able to bring people with you from one job to another, I think that also speaks very highly of that trustworthiness that those same team members will go to the next role with me or take on the next adventure with me, not knowing what that adventure may hold, but trusting that, okay, we're going to do this again. We're going to do this again together. We're going to take on another adventure, and we're going to succeed together. So I do appreciate the recognition, Susan. I think that trustworthiness and building a team is so critical. But I'll also say in your personal life, you have to be able to uphold that same level of trust, whether it's in a friendship, whether it's in a marriage, whether it's raising children. We always taught our children that character is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And so I think you really have to live that trustworthiness throughout every aspect of your life. It isn't just in a personal relationship. It isn't just in a professional relationship. And I think that even with a lot of my team members, we trust each other not only in the professional environment, but also in personal and social environments, right? I consider my team members to be my friends. I told somebody, I said, this is the first company I've ever worked for where I genuinely like everybody that I work with, and that's a hard thing. That's a very difficult thing to come by, but really working with great people, hardworking people, and everyone on the team has everybody else's back. And I can truly say that, if I stumble, they're going to pick me up and vice versa. If they stumble, if somebody fails, I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to get in the trenches with them. I'm going to say, that's okay. We're going to do this together. Give me that RFP. Let me take this meeting. And I think that's the only way that you can build trust is really giving trust. And when you give trust, it'll come back.
So if you were to have, because we're going to need to begin to wrap up, if you were to have one piece of advice for our listeners, what would it be?
Well, I'll tell you that trust is a hard thing, especially if trust has been broken. It takes a long time to rebuild trust. So I think if there's any bit of advice is to really become trustworthy. To make sure that you say what you mean and you mean what you say. And even if you make a mistake, I'll tell you, and there's been instances where we've had, whether it's at my current role or other positions where you do have a team member that falls down and makes a mistake. And I've always said that it's more important how that person handles that mistake than the fact that they made a mistake in the first place, right? So if you recognize, okay, I made a mistake. I put the wrong price on the proposal. I forgot to include this. I told the customer one thing and I made a mistake, right? So it's more important how you fix that mistake and how you handle that mistake, not only with the customer, but also with me. So if you're honest and you say, look, I made a mistake. I need your help. We got to fix this. Okay, fine. If you try to cover the mistake and you try to work your way around it, first of all, I'm going to know immediately. It's like with my kids, as soon as I ask if I would confront one of my kids with something, I would know immediately if they were trying to cover something up. It's the same way. I mean, you can read body language. You can see when people's, you can tell, right? And so I think what's really important is building that trustworthiness, even to the point where you can admit that you made a mistake and you can, be humble enough to say, I messed up. I need your help to fix this one. And I think that
love that.
builds trust within the organization as well.
So it really starts with each of us in terms of trusting ourselves and knowing what that means so that others can trust us and to be trustworthy.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, the team member needs to trust me that if they make a mistake, it's okay to come to me, right? And that helps me build trust with them because, okay, they came to me, they said, I made a mistake. I need your help in fixing this one. Okay, let's take a look at the contract. Let's figure out what we need to do, whatever the case may be. They need to trust me enough that I'm not going to throw them under the bus and that I am going to be there with them to pick them up. And then let's walk the next couple of steps together, right? Let's get this fixed. Let's take care of it. So there's, even with that building of trust, they have to have trust with me in order for me to have trust with them.
I love this. So much there to think about in terms of having each other's back, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, starting with yourself and making yourself trustworthy. Darlene Pope, I am so thrilled that you joined us today. And I expect that we're going to have many more of these conversations over time. Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you so
Susan. Thanks
much.
for having me.